Think of any major decision that's been taken in today's world, and there is a very strong chance that it's actually happening off the back of some data analysis. That's how crucial data analysis is in today's time. So let's go and focus on a few things which will actually help us consolidate our data analytics and data analysis capabilities with Power BI. When we think of data analysis, we have to think about how do you produce insights which can be actionable? How do you produce insights which are contextual that can be used in the right context and in right timely fashion as well? And as part of this particular module, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some of the key features that Power BI has. In particular, we will go and expose us to advanced analysis features within Power BI. To name a few, we will talk about things like time series, quick insights, AI insights, and obviously Power BI's new analysis feature. Let's go and make a start. All right, let's get on to Object Domain 4 now, which is about analyzing data. So let's start with 4.1, which is enhancing the reports to expose insights. Some of the statistical capabilities which are pre-built in Power BI. With Power BI, you obviously can go and create your reports, you can embed visualizations, you can drive your interactions and navigation and all those kind of things. But one of the key differentiation that Power BI also brings to the table is that it exposes a lot of statistical mechanisms which you can really use in your reports. There are statistical functions that can be exposed up in the ways of showing averages, sums, counts, deviation, variances, means and medians and those kind of things, which can be used in your normal looking visualizations like charts and histograms and bar charts and area charts and those kind of things. Beyond that, you could also use something like a top-N filter type, where you really can control in your report itself how many number of top records are being used to provide the visualizations. Take product categories as an example. You don't want to see how your business is going, let's say, on every single of your 200 product categories. You probably are more focused on what are your highest performers and what are your lowest performers. And that's exactly where top-N filter can actually help you a lot. As you can imagine, you don't have to go and build something by yourself. This is all available out of the box. And lastly, you also have things like Q&A visual, which can really help in the long run for your users and for yourself. Again, there are very particular and specific topics for which documentation is available, which you can leverage. In this particular case, documentation that we're looking at is for conducting time series analysis. There are some really neat and pretty pictures that can come out of it, and visualizations can really stand out. But do keep an eye and leverage these, and you could do things like trends over time. And there is pretty fun animated ways that this report is presented, which you can use for playing axes and those kind of things. So it's pretty cool. Go and have a try if you haven't tried it. Beyond this, from embedded AI perspective, one of the key things which is available is Quick Insights. It uses machine learning algorithms and those kind of things to unravel some of the insights which you probably haven't seen or you haven't built in your reports, and Power BI can provide that insight to you. In this particular case, if you think about it, it's telling you that components and bikes have noticeably more number of products. Now, this is not going and saying, oh, you're having max number of dollars coming through for this category, or you have more components than anything else. It actually goes underneath and it actually calls out that you have more components, because of which you have more sales numbers which are looking like a strong number for components category. So it's looking at the higher dollar values, sales numbers and everything, and underneath it tries to find what is the reason for something like that, and all of a sudden it informs you that there are more components than anything else. So maybe you might want to go and explore a bit more on other product categories maybe as a business to be able to sell more in other categories as well. Again, there is a bit of documentation which you can explore a bit more on. It looks at things like things that you could do on dataset level or focus on insight cards and few other interactions and few other insights that you can really leverage at the dashboard level or at very specific dataset level. Now, there is an analytics pane that you actually can use in your reports, which generally is available in majority of the visuals as well. That is the last visual that's available. What you actually can do, you could add some dynamic reference lines in your visuals, which can help you and your users to understand the context and where the storytelling is basically going. So think of adding things like min line, max line, averages, medians, percentile, increase or decrease, symmetries, and those kind of things. And that can really tell a vis-a-vis view of where your data stands and where exactly the analytics that you're trying to impose on top basically asks for it to be, or provide that comparative view. So you can really play around with that and show that story to your business users as well. So with that, now let's jump on to the next topic, which is performing advanced analytics, and just explore a bit more on what exciting new features are available, which you can really leverage, which take you towards the advanced analytics side of things. So first thing that you could do is identify outliers in your business. Now, in some cases, those outliers are welcome outliers. They are good for your business. They are probably bringing in more money. Or in some cases, they may not be the right outliers. They may be something which you might want to exclude or not have in first place. Irrespective of what is your objective, scatter chart can be used to identify if there are very specific outliers which you need to focus on and then do something about them in your business. You can either do that using the visuals. DAX also provide you the capability. In this particular case, the visual that you're seeing right now, the code that you're seeing right now is exhibiting how you're looking at calculating outliers. And that's a DAX calculation if you think, but it's actually focused more on identifying the outliers and then representing them forward to you. One key bit about data analytics is identifying the groups and bins and looking at the categorization and those kind of things. Groups could be something which user defines, and that can be on the basis of selection, for example. Bins, on the other hand, are the contiguous range of values that you might want to select and want to define a bracket with that. So group could be unrelated values, but you want them to be represented together. They could be certain cities, for example. Whereas bins could be something like a subsequent set of postcodes, subsequent months, for example, and something like that. For example, you might want to think about seasons and how subsequent months basically together form a season, and then how your sales number work or perform in those very specific bins. So those are the ways that you can actually concentrate your data. You can actually, combine them together, either using groups or by using bins, and then enable that collaboration, that exchange in data exploration, in reporting, in creating the visuals, and then overall trending and analysis that you or your users might be interested in. Another key feature which is available out there is AI Insights. Now, when you go and leverage this, what you actually could do if you go towards Power Editor, you will find that within Add Columns, you actually see a couple of AI insights that you can bring in. And by doing this, what you are actually doing, you're bringing the AI insight in form of sentiment analysis and key phrase extractions and language detection, for example, and in some cases image tagging as well. You actually add that as an attribute to your data set, and you can really work with that in the business, in your data set. So you are not dependent on another system altogether. We're doing all of this, transformation. This is now available within Power BI itself, and that is quite empowering. And then once you have identified these key features, like what is the sentiment analysis looking like or telling us, whether it's a good sentiment or it's a bad sentiment or whatever that is, you can then use that in your reports, and users can actually leverage that as well. Another key bit which we have talked about earlier but is applicable in this case as well is Q&A feature. When you think about Q&A feature, it actually allows your user to use natural language to go and ask questions which are relevant to the data set that they have been provided with via Power BI. And then Power BI takes off the responsibility to answer those questions again with the available data set. And it's quite empowering in a way that all of a sudden business users are not dependent on a dedicated data analyst and reporting team to create the visuals so they can see what is happening in the business. They actually can ask those natural language questions, and the business will be reported with those answers by Power BI itself. Another key aspect which is taking off quite well these days is key influential visuals. In a lot of scenarios, we have things happening in the business, but then more often than not, business is also keen to understand what is influencing what is happening right now. And that's where key influential visual actually comes in. So for example, in this particular case, if there is, sale is increasing, they can actually look at the particular cities and then try to understand what are the influential columns or values which are actually influencing that. And that is something that they can explore a bit more as well. Another very highly used capability is decomposition tree. Instead of creating those drill through, which really works through on multiple screens and can get really, really complicated in some certain scenarios, decomposition tree actually lets your user work through a branch of data at a time. So for example, the total sales is X. Then within that, the user can really see that United States market is standing right at the top. And then within that, they can then explore, okay, what is my biggest performing product in those areas, in that particular region? And whatever that product is, where exactly is that product performing well in the cities? And all of that translation can actually be done and be taken care of in a rather animated and visual way by Power BI, and really becomes a good, amazing storytelling for the business and can influence business decisioning as well. So let's do a very quick demo on analyzing data using advanced analytics capabilities in Power BI. So in the first one, we are starting with the scatter plot, and what we have done is we have got some report already going on, and we have basically gone and played the axis just to see how the data movement is going on. Now, that movement probably didn't tell you anything as such, so we select on those, and we can do vis-a-vis view of all these two products and look at how the movement looks like when we select both of them together, right? What we have also done, we have applied some filters in this. So in this particular case, we have focused on bikes only. So just be cognizant of some of these things when you look at these reports. Another one is forecast. Now in this case, what we're doing, we have got the numbers from past, which we have already reported on, But what we have done is we have actually applied a line chart and then basically went to analytics and just use the forecast length and went from there to say, okay, let's explore with 80% confidence level for one more month how the numbers looks like. So currently this is showing up data for bikes. Let's translate that to something else. Let's see what the number looks like if we change to clothing. So the number changes, right? So this basically gives a forecast of what is going to happen if this, whatever the current business modality is, carries on exactly as is. The next one is decomposition that you're seeing right now. So profit margin is low for whatever reason. In Australia, it's probably a bit less. Let's look at what's impacting the most. So we selected a few of them, and this is actually doing drill up, drill through. So we looked at Australia, then New South Wales, and then within the city. We can remove them if we like, and then if we like, we can then explore that a bit more as well. And now all of a sudden, rather than going to the state level, we are directly going to the city level. So that's the decomposition tree that we saw. And again, we have chosen certain filters, which is something that we have done in other reports as well. Now, key influencer is last one. Here, we are looking at the decrease. What is influencing the profit margin when it's decreasing? And we're looking at certain cities. We haven't applied any data filters in this case. And basically working with all the different key influencers. What are the top segments? So it basically reports that there is only one top segment in this, which is fine. If you want, we can change that and go for the increase as well. Right. So with that, let's go to our practice questions. Again, we will do the same thing. Let's call out the question. We will wait for some time and to give you some headspace to think and answer in your headspace. And from there on, we will answer the question as well. So the first one is, which feature of Power BI allows you to connect to a collection of pre-trained machine learning models that you can apply to enhance your data? Your options are Quick Insight, Key Influencer, Q&A, AI Insights. And the answer is AI Insights. Next one. Which pane in Power BI is used to add dynamic reference lines to your visual? Your options are Visualization pane, Analytics pane, Filter pane, none of the above. Right, the answer is Analytics pane. So let's review what we covered as part of Objective Domain 4. So we explored statistical summary that's available in Power BI that you can use in certain visualizations. We talked about time series analysis as well. We touched on Quick Insights and Analytics pane and how you can use Analytics pane in different scenarios. We also talked about how do you go about identifying outliers. Then we also touched on grouping and binning data. And then we called out certain AI features like AI Insights, Key Influencer, Visual, and Decomposition tree. With that, let's conclude OD4.